welcome from Portland, Maine. This is good old JR, Jim Ross here with Jerry the King Law.
I've never seen a crowd so fired up, JR. They can't wait to get started, and neither can I.
That makes two of us, King. I don't think Portland's going to know what hit it after tonight.
That went nowhere.
I've got a feeling that this has all the makings of an instant classic.
That's probably just gas, JR.
Well, I did have some good old Oklahoma barbecue before tonight's show, but I don't think that's it.
His opponent telegraphed that one.
Maine. This is good old JR, Jim Ross here with Jerry the King Law.
I've never seen a crowd so fired up, JR. They can't wait to get started, and neither can I.
That makes two of us, King. I don't think Portland's going to know what hit it after tonight.
No! How can a referee allow something like that? Come on, JR. You know that the referee's health plan doesn't include vision. I tell you, JR, this one has the potential to be a match of the year candidate.
No doubt about it, King. As far as I'm concerned, any WWE match has that potential. Everyone on the roster is an accomplished wrestler.
I talked to these superstars backstage before the match, and I don't think he's really cranking up the pressure on that hole, JR.
He sure is. There's no doubt he's looking for the submission right here.
So who do you think's going to win this match, JR?
I'm not even going to hazard a guess, King. These superstars are so unpredictable that that would be just about the most foolish thing I could possibly do.
I think I know who's going to win this one, JR.
Oh, really? Enlighten us, King.
Wait a second. Why are you so eager to hear my prediction?
Because I want to know who's going to win. And 9 times out of 10, it's not the superstar you pick.
I think I know who's going to win this match, but I don't want to say. I'm afraid I'll jinx it.
Come on, King. Don't tell me you're superstitious.
Of course not, JR. I'm not superstitious because I know that's unlucky. But never try and step between these guys, JR.
That would be hazardous to your health for sure.
I'd ask you who you want to win this matchup, JR. It's been pretty obvious since the start of the show who you're pulling for.
I'm trying to remain as objective as I can, King. Quite frankly, I'd rather see a good competitive matchup than see a particular superstar win or lose this thing.
Oh, come on. Uh-oh. This isn't going to be pretty. I assure you that tonight's show is a lot better than JR's French.
Sheesh. Well, there's no question of that, King. These Montreal fans are ready to get started, and so am I. So what are we waiting for? Oh, for the love of... Talk about having no respect for your opponent.
Well, if you've got a problem with it, maybe you should do something about it, JR. Boy, these superstars sure have their hands full here tonight, JR.
They sure do, King. They've got all they can say grace over.
You gotta respect the commitment and the dedication of these superstars to their careers.
No question about it, King. Every superstar on the roster has had to make more sacrifices than any other professional athlete I know.
It really is like being... Oh, man. I've been in this hole before, JR. This brings back some bad memories.
I can understand why, King. I can't even imagine the pain being inflicted here. I hope he's not looking for a weapon. That could do some serious damage. What a submission hold!
Oh, could this be a tap out? It isn't. The hole can't be broken. You can't take this kind of pain for long. This is great, JR.
But I'd like to see a little less sizzle and a little more steak. I think someone's looking for a weapon under the ring. This could get ugly. That's what the ring bell's supposed to be used for. He's a slippery devil.
Oh boy, here it comes. Got their homework on each other.
They sure have. And this is one hell of an exam.
Let's hope it's not their final exam, JR.
Get your wish, King.
What a finishing move. I get chills every time I see it. You're not going to win a match by insulting your opponent. I'd like to see things from your perspective, JR, but I'd have to get my head out of my rear end first.
He's playing ways. If one of these is the end of this match.
That's right, JR. You don't see a lot of matches won with one or two big moves.
You sure don't. You've got to lay the groundwork first.
I think we're going to find out just how much punch is going to go.
What are you talking about, King? I think this is still an extremely competitive match that can go either way.
You know, JR, it's obvious that the only exercise you...
Well, judging from the shape I'm in, I don't appear to be doing too much of either, King. You're looking pretty fit, though, I must say.
Allah, those steps were never intended to be used like this.
I wonder if you've even had first thoughts. Oh, would you look at this. Talk about arrogant. It's sickening.
Come on, JR. It's not enough just to win a match. You've got to make it clear who's the dominant superstar. These fans can't stand it when he does this, JR, but I think it's great.
He's sure not going to win over any fans with that move, but I don't think that bothers him too much, quite frankly. I'm not so sure this was about winning or losing anymore. I think it's become more personal than that.
Of course it's personal, JR. Anytime you step into the ring with someone who wants to beat you down in order to win the match, it's personal.
I guess I can't argue with that, King. I just wonder if they'll be able to settle their differences in this match, or if it's going to wind up bigger than that.
This has gone beyond just being a match, JR. I think these superstars genuinely hate each other.
There's no love lost between these competitors, that's for sure. If looks could kill, somebody would be pushing up daisies right now.
And you've got to admit, that makes for a much more interesting match, JR.
It sure does. But I just hope these superstars can settle their differences in the ring and leave it at that.
So, how do you think this one's going to turn out, JR?
Honestly, King, what a shot from that sledgehammer!
Oh boy, here he goes.
I'll tell you what, King, the WWE superstars are about the greatest athletes you'll find in any sport, period.
What do you mean, just about, JR? Can you actually think of anywhere else that you can see athletes?
Oh my, this is going to get ugly if they don't take that sledgehammer away.
These superstars have put a great match so far, JR. But if they drop the ball, these fans will let them hear about it.
I don't think that's going to happen, King. These competitors know that their paychecks come straight from the WWE fans. They're not going to let them down.
Yeah, but if they don't keep the fans happy...
If wishes were fishes, the world